Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Tom Tobin, president of the club, and we're thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel. Our club meets weekly at Laurel Lake for breakfast on Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30. Come out and join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we're having on our local community and the world, visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary connects the world.
Okay.
Good morning, Rotarians and friends who are watching us also from home. It's a nice morning for Hudson, the Rotary Club of Hudson. Our invocation this morning is by Jim Ahern, I believe. Jim Young?
Jim Young.
Is Jim Ahern Jim Young, I saw you there.
Ron?
Yes?
Yes.
Jim Young called me. I was in Indiana on Sunday. I'm just wondering if he wanted me to do it instead.
All right, Jim Young's on, by the way, and he is,
He is?
yep, and he's unmuted. Jim, you ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Yes or no? Because I did something I can't see.
We can.
We can hear you.
All right, I'll do the invocation. I somehow I can't get back into the view, but okay, let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for the fellowship of our Rotary Club, and we ask for your blessing with our club, continued commitment to service through this Zoom, which I'm having trouble with. As we're about to celebrate the 4th of July, let us pray for the men and women that have sacrificed their lives for the freedom we enjoy. We ask again you bless this Rotary meeting.
Amen.
Amen.
And now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, since she doesn't get to lead us in song, Chris Barker.
Thank you. Good morning, Rotarian guests. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Rotarians, if you would please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to
all concerned?
Third, will it build
goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth, will it be beneficial to
all concerned? Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you performing in front of the group again.
It's nice to be back.
And now we have our new president, Marilyn Orr.
Good morning, Rotarians. We are jumping
Morning,
off
Marilyn.
the Rotary year right on time. It's the 1st of July, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. The first thing that we're going to talk about this morning is that we need to do just a bit of business, and that is to make sure that we do indeed have the full club consent on the board of officers, as well as our 3 new directors being added to the board. And so we have a quick poll that is, Donna, can we throw that up?
Marilyn, the poll is a yay or a nay. I don't have all the people on there. If you could please read the slate of officers, and then I will put the poll up.
The slate of officers are, of course, myself as incoming president, Chris Barker as secretary, Ben Rexroad as treasurer, and then for the 3 directors coming on, Mimi Becker as a new director, Jay Yard and Mike Swain as being reassigned. All right, The very first order of business that I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Rich Warfield to please unmute and give us a recap of last Saturday and the camp cleanup at Camp Manitowoc.
And Rich,
Thank you,
please turn your
Marilyn.
camera on also so we can see you.
It's not from my end. I never got offered. You guys don't need to see me. You can just hear me.
He's in his jammies.
No, I'm dressed. I'm ready to go in the office. But yeah, thank you, Marilyn. We had, I think, 6 or 7 participants. The usual coach, they're prompt, they're ready to help roll up the sleeves, clean out the lockers. Joe Avella was there. Tom Page was there. Kelly Brennan was there. Jay Yard made a quick appearance, but he had to return back to his nest, which we understand. We thank Jay for coming. Joe Resnick was a surprise visitor. And I know, Pat, I can't forget him. If I'm forgetting anybody else, it's an old age thing. So we,
Kelly Brennan too.
Kelly, I thought I mentioned Kelly. Maybe I didn't. Oh, Tom Page. TP was there. So we had a great crew, 6 or 7 guys. It all went well. Great lunch afterwards. They made us hamburgers and whatever else. And I thank everybody for attending. This has been a 6, 7, 8 year tradition now, I think, that we've been doing it. And I think we're well respected at the Boy Scouts, that being our club. And then we had a chance to witness, I think Kelly, I don't know if he's on this morning, took over the new machine that we just contributed and supported for the Boy Scout camp. It was really effective. I think Joe Avella and Coach and all others would agree that it's going to eliminate the manpower to, have to actually scrub the locker rooms. So anyway, went over real well, and I thank you all for participating. And I look forward to doing this again in the future.
Thank you. We really appreciate you coordinating all of that again. Again, the Boy Scouts and especially Camp Manitowoc, this is a wonderful way for us to reach outside the borders of Hudson and do some really good things for that organization and the boys coming in from all over Northeast Ohio. Donna, if we could, can we please post all of the birthdays? We're celebrating this month. We have July birthdays because we can't effectively do a fine day when we traditionally celebrate birthdays and club anniversaries. I'd like to throw those up. So first of all, happy birthday to Dan Williams. I think you're celebrating number 29 yet again. And of course, coming up on the 13th, Tom Tobin is going to be celebrating a birthday, Ron Barnhouse. And on the 21st, you can see the 3 of us. I don't know why this is, but this is not unusual to have many people born on the 21st. So Joe Zapytowski shares a birthday with me. On the 22nd, Scott Naples is going to have a birthday. 25th, Ed Sogan. And on the 31st, Jim Ahern. And then people celebrating club anniversaries this month are David Ash, Lynn Zupp, Liz Ramsey, and George Schmutz. So congratulations to everyone. Really hope you would have a good day when it's your special day. And we'll be doing this on the first club meeting of each month, letting everyone know when our birthdays are coming up. So
thank you.
You're welcome. On April 22nd, Chief Jerry Varn came to our club and gave a call to action in support of building the 90-day supply of personal protective equipment in support of our volunteer EMS group. Today is actually a kickoff of our joining with the club, the Clock Tower Club and the EMS board to help get some notoriety and some funding in to help do that. With the support of Northwest National Bank, with a free donation, with a donation of $2,500, UH Portage Medical Center with a donation of $1,500, and the Tobin Family Foundation of $1,500. That forms the core of our commitment to this worthwhile endeavor. So today is a call to our membership to help our Rotary Foundation stand behind the rest of the Hudson community and get what we need to keep our EMS forces and other safety forces safe and able to do the job that they've committed to do. So in that light, we're introducing two very small fundraisers. The first is that we have a program brought to us by Donna Kastner called Hudson Wraps. We have a limited amount of wrapping papers with a Christmas as well as a summer theme that focus on landmarks within the Hudson community. The pricing for the wrapping papers are $12 per individual roll, $20 for a 2-pack. It's a good deal. It supports the Hudson community, and this stuff doesn't outdate. We had 70 rolls. So it's quickly coming down. The way to secure yours is to contact Donna Kastner.
Can I stop for a moment? I just want just a little background on this, because it was the generosity of Katie Rundell that made this possible. So Katie Rundell is a local graphic designer that I use for my business, and others do as well. She's amazing. And she had designed this wrap, and it was sold in local shops. And so as there was some brainstorming going on as far as what could we do, I reached out to Katie, and as it turned out, she had a stash of 70, inventory that had already been printed, winter wrap, spring wrap, and she generously gave it to us at cost, understanding that this was going to be a fundraiser. And then my husband and I bought that, and that's our donation. And so this is a 100% profit opportunity. So sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
And it's a great opportunity, something that everyone needs. We all gift people. And so why not do it and support the Hudson community? And all of the funding from this project is going directly into the EMS funding. The second project is a small one again, involving something called the Scout. You can see the information here. In regard to the Hudson Wraps, it has a view of what they actually look like. They're very attractive, and information to how to order. Again, there were only 70 rolls available, and the number is already rapidly coming down. The next fundraiser is one that involves the Boy Scouts. And Pat Shear, can you please come on? Give us a little hint about that. It's a program of discounting of restaurants and venues throughout the greater Northeast Ohio, as well as the United States. The discount program is something that can actually become an app on your phone. You open it up, and it shows you things that are local, very near you. One of the things that I noticed right away is that there's a lot that's there, like Cold Stone Creamery, Johnny's Diner, a number of places that are there and available to get discounting. It's not hard to recoup your investment. The cards are $10, and the profit to the Rotary Club is dependent upon how many we actually can sell. Pat, would you like to chime in with a comment about this?
So we normally do this every spring with our Cub Scout packs and Scout troops. Obviously, given with COVID-19, that didn't go all that well this year, which left me with a big inventory of these cards. They also have 2 snap-off coupons on them. One $7 off Jiffy Lube oil change, and then another one is $10 off at Sherwin-Williams. So if anybody's planning on doing any painting, I think there was a former president that was looking to do some painting, so you should definitely buy one of these cards. I think you download, there's a code on the back of each card, which you then allows you to get access to these coupons. And these coupons are not just Akron based. So if you're traveling or you're on the road and you're going to the beach this week, over the summer, they're nationwide. There's coupons that are available nationwide. Very similar to the old entertainment books that we used to all get.
And I found that I think it's going to be very easy to recoup your investment. Although there's a snap-off coupon for Sherwin-Williams embedded in the app, are additional coupons that you can use at different Sherwin-Williams locations. The app also has a location finder that will tell you when you're near something. As I said, I think it's really easy to recoup your investment of $10. Handel's Ice Cream, Cold Stone Creamery, and a couple of the golf courses are included there as well. So more information will be coming to you directly involving these. One thing to remember about the Gift Saver Scouting discount card, it will expire December 31st of this year. At this point, we're ready to start our formal program. John Adams, please unmute yourself and let's introduce today's speakers. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marilyn. It looks like I am unmuted. I want to confirm that you all can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, filling the big shoe of the former George in this capacity, as I thought about this month with everything going on, I wanted to take the focus internal. I know we've had some of our members speak to the group around their careers and things like that, but I've put together a unique set of questions to get to know our fellow Rotarians better. And I have 3 of our Rotarians with us today that I've learned one of them is the birthday boy of the day. Dan Williams is going to be
looking for my cake.
Yeah. And so why don't we just go to Dan? And so we're going to have Dan answer these questions first. But the idea would be to take no more than 10 minutes. And in an interview type of a format, just going to ask Dan some questions. And then after Dan, we'll go to the other 2 willing participants or victims. I'm not sure, they'll be the judge of which one after we're done with these questions. So Dan, first of all, happy birthday to you. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with you sharing a little bit with the group. For those that might not know, maybe new to the club or something, who are you, Dan? And how long have you been in Hudson? Give us a little bit about your background, that type of stuff.
Well, thanks, John. It's a real imposition to ask an ex-politician to hold an address to 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
You add a college professor to that, and you're in big trouble, but I'll try.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a Youngstown boy, born and raised in Youngstown, went to what we now refer to as an inner city high school. After high school, I went to Westminster College. After 4 years, graduated cum laude with a degree in math and decided to enter the business world. I went to work in Cleveland for what was known then as the Ohio Bell Telephone Company. After about 2 years of working with the telephone company, I decided that I needed a little more background in business. So I quit my job and went back to Kent State to pick up an MBA. And about the end of that, it was a 2-year full-time program. The end of that program, the head of the management department, a fellow by the name of Dr. John Doubt, pulled me aside one day after class and said to me, "Well, what are you going to do next?" I said, "I don't know. I think I'm going back to business." He said, "I think you'd make a great college professor. Why don't you consider it?" I said, "Well, I never thought about it." So I went home, talked to my wife, came back and told him that, I think that would make a good career path for me. So he arranged a fellowship. And 3 years later, I walked out of Kent State with a doctorate in finance and then went into the teaching profession. It shows the influence that we can have on younger people when we just take a moment or two to contact, to interact with them. I probably never would have been in this position if he had not pulled me aside and suggested that I go into the doctoral program. Well, I taught at Kent for a couple years. Then I moved over to University of Akron in the business school. Taught there for 29 years. And one of the interesting things I had during that tenure is I was lucky enough to receive a postdoctoral fellowship to moved my family to Washington, D.C., spend a year working with the federal government. I worked with the Federal Communication Commission, and that happened to be the time of Watergate, for those of you old enough to remember that. And so we were in Washington, D.C., reading the Washington Post every morning, and that was just like a local paper, following Watergate. So it was a very interesting time. I came back to the Akron area and taught for the rest of the time at Akron. Akron came along with a buyout, and I said, thank you. I would take that and see what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I did that. And then I started looking around. What am I going to do? I'm a young guy. Who was it that decided to take me to lunch one day and said, well, why don't you consider the Rotary Club? So it was Gail Royster. So she invited me to a club meeting. I attended. I thought that's something I might like to do. And then Bob Hills, that's probably a name from the past for many of you. Bob Hills, who was president of the club at that time, took me out to breakfast and said, you'd like to join us? We need some finance people. How about you become treasurer of the club? So there I am, jumped right in. And the next 2 years, I was treasurer of your Rotary Club. I gave it up. Ben took over. And Ben, I don't know how many years ago that's been, but you've been treasurer now for at least 10, 12 years. Brute for punishment. Well, after being treasurer of your club, I then moved to being president of the foundation. I spent 2 years there and then moved over to the scholarship program and have been running with a few other people the scholarship program for the last many years. And I really enjoy that. And I see that as a place that I can contribute to our Rotary Club. John, does that kind of bring us up to date as to where we are?
It certainly does. And I'll tell you, as a graduate of the University of Akron College of Business, I remember you as a very respected, and maybe even use the word, I don't want to use the word feared, but I'll say you were a tough, hard, it wasn't an easy A in your class, put it that way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So that's from an alumni there and a lot of other alumni. So, you kind of answered my next question as far as what is it and how did you get to Rotary? And so it was a Rotarian, Gail, who invited you to lunch and that's stations. And you kind of answered the next question, the area of the Rotary that you find your most energy right now is working in the scholarship area of the club. Is that correct, or anything you'd add to that?
That's right. Along with Catherine Sines and Ron, we've got a pretty good triumvirate that run the scholarship program, and I really, really enjoy that. And I think our club members enjoy hearing the kids when they come in May and give their presentations to the club. So
sure.
I see that as where I'm going to continue.
So the next question I have here, and we're right on time, so this I'm really good. A little about 5 minutes left, 4.5. Is with the pandemic and COVID, we all experienced it in many different ways, and the COVID-15 is kind of a running joke about the weight that was gained or beverages that were consumed during that time period. I actually want to ask you, in what area would you say that you possibly grew as a person? That you are better now as a person, Dan Williams, than you were before the pandemic? How would you answer that?
Well, maybe I answered by going around the block. I've been amazed at how cheap people in our world consider a life. Look at how many people have died in this pandemic. I think my figures are approximate, but in the United States, we've had 140, 150,000 people die. And worldwide, it's around 500,000. That's amazing to me. And people go along and think that it's just normal. We look at the pictures of Florida beaches. We look at the bars and the people hanging out. And I think to myself, don't they understand life is precious? And if I know one person that has died from the COVID, and that's one too many. But 500,000 people, and yet many, many people in the world are just ignoring that. So I guess the lesson to be learned is that life is not cheap. Life is very, very valuable, and we should do everything we can to preserve it.
It's quite a response to that question. Is there anything that you particularly grew as a person as a result of the pandemic?
Well, I think one of the things I've learned, I knew it before, but I've learned even more, brought it home, is a concept of flexibility. And, you know, the old adage is out there that as we get older, we get fixed in our ways and we can't change. That can't be true for this pandemic. Look at the Rotary Club. Look how we've changed from having face-to-face meetings to being Zoom oriented. We've got to be flexible. And I guess if you ask a pearl of wisdom that we would share with the club, and my pearl of wisdom is flexibility.
Okay.
We have to be able to adjust, to change, to realize that things aren't going to always be the way they were. And we just need to be flexible. And that's not necessarily negative. It's
Right.
just a fact of life.
Sure. Dan, I appreciate you going first this morning. And
Did we keep our 10 minutes?
You know what? We actually are about 1 minute and 14 seconds left over. So like schedule. But what a thank you for sharing that information with us. And again, happy birthday to you.
Thanks for the opportunity, John.
I bet. Okay, so after Dan, we're going to switch to Joe Zapytowski here. Joe has also agreed to have a chat with me for 10 minutes this morning. So if we could go to Joe's screen.
John,
Joe?
we were having some difficulty with Joe hearing us, and I don't know if that's been remedied yet, but early on when he joined, I think he was having difficulty with his speakers. Anyone else know?
All right. Well, we might really be ahead of schedule then in our meeting today.
I can hear you now.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Joe, wonderful.
Joe,
Finally. But
Joe,
I missed all the preliminaries.
you know how to stress a guy out all of a sudden. I'm like, where's Joe? So good. All right. So Joe,
I'm the one that's stressed because I haven't heard a thing.
don't worry about it. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. So we're literally going to take 10 minutes together, Joe, and I'm going to ask you some questions that I've sent you in advance for your review. And we're just going to have a conversation, so don't stress at all about it. The first one is really the easiest of the questions. There might be some new members in the group or just people in the group who don't know you. And so I want to open it by asking you to share with us a little bit about who you are. Like, what's your background? Just take that one. How long you've been in Hudson? That kind of stuff. Your family, your career.
Okay. Well, I was born a long time ago. I'll be celebrating my 96th birthday in July 21.
Wow.
Born in Detroit and grew up there. When the war came on, I worked at Cadillac Motors as an inspector. I was drafted, spent 3 years in the Army in United States. I went to University of Missouri for a year in the Army, which was great duty, I'll tell you. But it changed pretty quickly because they shipped me out to Europe, spent time in England, France, and Belgium. When the war ended there, they decided to send us to the Pacific and went through the Panama Canal, had a shower in the Panama Canal, which was great. As soon as we departed the Panama Canal, we heard that the war ended. Japan had surrendered. I was sure the boat was going to turn north up the coast and drop us off somewhere along the coast. That didn't happen. We kept on going. Stopped at Borneo and went on to the Philippines, where I spent several months. And then I waited for transfer to, there goes my mind, to Korea, to South Korea. And I waited probably a full month for a plane to be available. I stopped in the Philippines. I spent the night in southern Japan and landed in Korea, South Korea, on New Year's Eve of 45. Spent 3 months in South Korea distributing film to the troops. I used to go to Incheon Harbor, which had a 30-foot tide, climb up ladders to go to on troop ships or cargo ships or Navy ships, and exchange the films I had for films that they had, so that the people who served in South Korea would have access to some entertainment. Well,
So-
I should say that boating has been one of my very important pastimes. I've owned boats from a 16-footer to a 37-footer. We lived on that 37-footer, my wife and I, for 5 years. Made 3 trips from Michigan to Florida aboard that boat, once down through the Mississippi, second time through the Erie Canal, and the third time through Canada. So we've had some experiences there, and we made several trips to the Bahamas on that vessel also. I served as superintendent of schools. That was my occupation. In school systems, I had a high school principalship and a teacher job in a school of 100. And my largest school had over 12,000 students in it. That was in Fairfield, Connecticut. Before I got to Fairfield, I got my doctorate from the University of Michigan.
So what brought you to Hudson? How did
We
that?
really moved here from Florida
Okay.
to the Laurel Lake retirement community. Time came, and so we got on our boat, sold our apartment, sold our belongings, packed everything aboard the boat, and came down here, down the waterways and onto Lake Erie, parked the boat on Lake Erie outside of Cleveland, and drove here to Laurel Lake. And that's where we've been since 2013.
It's a pretty amazing story there. I would have never
Not
known
so
that.
amazing. If you live long enough, you do a bunch of things.
Yeah, yeah. So, so what brought you to Rotary? How did you become a member of Rotary?
Well, I was a charter lion for 3 years in my first job in Au Gres. I was also a Kiwanian for 6 years in a couple of positions I had there. But then when I went to Fairfield, the physician who was attached to the school board took me by the collar, I think, and took me to the first meeting, and I became a Rotarian in August of, what year was that now? Well, 56 years ago in July, whatever year that was.
Wow. Wow. So is there an area of the club that you really like the best, that you enjoy being involved with the most?
Well, I spent a lot of my career in the area of enhancing the scholarship area. I did that in several clubs, and I did that in our club up until just a month or two ago. but I'm getting a kind of old in the, you know, my mind isn't quite where it used to be these days. So I gave that up, but it's been a good run. I've enjoyed that. I'm a Paul Harris Fellow several times over, and I enjoyed that work. I was also president for 1 year of the American Association of School Administrators. That's one meeting, but it's a meeting of about 300 superintendent Rotarians wherever we have the convention that year. So that was kind of an exciting thing.
So thanks for your service, long-standing service and example that you've set for us at Rotary. That's pretty impressive. You know, with the pandemic that we've all experienced, I thought it would be a good question to ask you, not your negative experience with it, but in what areas would you say that you possibly grew as a person as a result of going through COVID?
It's hard to say. You know, I'm really quite isolated. I'm in my apartment here at Laurel Lake, and we have really very little contact with the outside. We're able to go out now, but we're not able to have visitors. So it's been a very trying time for many of us. We have not been affected. A few of the staff have been affected by the virus. There have been several people in the restricted areas where they are bedridden or they have more services than those of us who are still living independently. But everyone has recovered, but there have been no instances yet in independent living of the virus.
Okay.
One, okay, yeah.
Okay. Let me go on to say, you know, with your wisdom and experience over the years, as you watch, you know, what's the effect of the pandemic, or even certainly to bring into the conversation the social unrest in our country, and your service to our country as a veteran, and thank you again for that service. The question I would ask you is that, you know, are there some words of wisdom that you would want fellow Rotarians, current Americans, or future generations, some pearls of wisdom that you would want to share with us in the remaining maybe 45 seconds we have together?
You know, that's a difficult issue. Everyone has their ideals. Everyone has their, you know, the person they idealize. I've been really very fortunate to have been together with the woman I love for as many years as Jean and I have been together, and I lost her just about 14 months ago. But you've got to be true to yourself and to your beliefs. You know, what else can you say? You know, it's a personal thing with each and every one of us.
Absolutely. How long were you married?
Well, 49, no. 69 years and about a month and a half.
That's fantastic. What a testament right there.
It was a great time, really. You know, I met Jean in September of 1945, just after I got out of the Army. And it was the first Friday night dance. She was dancing with her roommate and friend from high school, and a one-armed vet, and I cut in on them, and I got Jean, and that was the beginning.
Well, you know, I appreciate you sharing with us this morning. I didn't know all of your background. I knew of the superintendent part, but your service to our country, we're all indebted to you for that. So thank you very much, and good health to you.
Thank you.
All right. So our third Rotarian that agreed to share with us might be one of our newer Rotarians in the group. And we're going to say Phil or Philip Butto, and we might have him address that. But Phil, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So Phil, you are serving Rotary as our treasurer now, and thank you for taking on that step. But I got you these questions, and let's just start with introduce yourself maybe to the group that maybe don't know you. So share with us, who are you? What's your background? How long in Hudson? Family? Let's start there.
Okay. Geez, where to start? So I'll start. I've been in Hudson 8 years now, about 8 or 9 years, and my wife and I moved here. Let me start from the beginning. So I'm a Youngstown boy myself. I grew up in Boardman, Ohio, Dan, and part of a close-knit Italian family. All my family is still back in the Youngstown area, very close to them. It's always difficult being an hour away from them. So I went to Youngstown State University, graduated there with an accounting degree, got my CPA, and I spent the last 22 years working in education. I've been a school treasurer now for 20 years. Before that, I was a state auditor for a couple of years, and I decided long ago that I couldn't do that auditing for the rest of my life. So I had to get into something that had a little bit more meat to it, and always had a passion though for public service, that's, I think, probably born out of my dad was a math teacher for 20 years, and then went into technology and computers, and eventually into administration himself. So I kind of followed in his footsteps, a little bit. But I have a strong education foundation in my family. My brother is a school teacher. I have a couple aunts that are school teachers. My wife is a school counselor. So it's actually part of our everyday life. So I eventually moved to Cleveland because of a job change. I became treasurer of a small district in Lorain County called Keystone. And I was there, moved up here in 2006, and eventually met my wife, Angie, and we got married and settled in Hudson. Angie and I have 2 children from a previous marriage. My daughter is 21. She just turned 21, which blows my mind. And a son, 17, Dominic. Both of them are still from the Boardman area. But I have Angie brought my stepson to the marriage, and Angie and I had 2 children together. We have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I have 3 children in Hudson City schools, a freshman, a soon-to-be 3rd grader, and a soon-to-be 1st grader. So, wow. After serving almost 20 years as a school treasurer in other districts, coming home and serving in Hudson City schools has been absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough about the district. The board is amazing. The administration is amazing. They're all are so good at what they do, and they're all such good people. And you don't find that everywhere, and I've been in enough districts to know that. So I am very happy in my new position in Hudson City Schools. I Yeah. So my children are the center of my life, as well as my wife, and I think that's probably my history. Is that good, John?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a product of the Elyria Catholic school
Oh
system.
yeah, yeah.
So when you said Keystone, I knew exactly where that was.
It's a great little district. I was there for 5 years and really enjoyed it. I look fondly back on that district. Yeah, good place.
So what brought you to become a member of Rotary? And the second part of that is there a particular area of it that you're finding you enjoy the most about it?
Well, I'll tell you what. So originally, I joined Rotary. I was a member in the Ravenna chapter. I served as treasurer of Ravenna schools for 5 years, and I became a member of Rotary there. And I'll be honest, I joined for purely professional reasons. To establish connections and get to know the Ravenna community. And I really did enjoy that. It went very well as a member there. When I came to Hudson, and I found that Catherine Sines was such an involved member here, I felt like I had to follow in her footsteps. But in all honesty, I wanted to because of the experience I had in Ravenna. It was such a positive experience, and for me, the motto, the Rotary motto, "Service above self," means a whole lot, and that's why I do what I do in my career. I believe heavily in giving back and serving people. And I feel that Rotary in Ravenna, when I was a member in Ravenna, it was more of a professional membership. Here, I really and truly do want to give back to this community, and it goes well beyond my job. It's as far as what I want to do and where I want to serve. I haven't found that groove yet. Only have been a member for 8 or 9 months now. But I've been looking at maybe possibly the foundation area. Maybe I'm a boots on the ground kind of guy. I enjoy doing the heavy lifting, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as I'm giving back. So I'm looking forward to serving this group in any way that I can.
I look forward to you doing that. You bring a lot of experience to the group, so that'll be great for everybody. There's not many members of our group that have young children like you do in the Hudson schools, and so this next question, I'm kind of curious what your answer might be to it. But simply, as a result of the COVID, the pandemic, how would you say that you're a better person? Like, in what area did you grow as a result of the pandemic?
Well, I've always been neurotic about hand sanitizer and germs and that kind of thing. So, it certainly didn't make me cleaner. I can tell you that much, because I've always been pretty crazy about that kind of thing. But I think that I think it's taught me to be honest with you. I think Donna Kastner does an awesome job at these Zoom meetings, but I really don't like them. I really don't. I miss quite a bit seeing each of you on Wednesdays. I miss seeing Phil Herman and Doreen Osman and my staff in the treasurer's office every day. And that's really, it's a big revelation for me, because I'm kind of like an old school accountant. I like my alone time with my computer and my spreadsheets.
Yes.
So, but what this taught me is how important it is that we have human contact. And and Zoom isn't all what it's cracked up to be. So definitely valuing people. It's taught me to be grateful for that interconnection, and certainly in the first few months missing my family. We didn't see each other for 3 months, so that was a big deal for me.
I was anticipating your answer to be somewhere around your homeschooling skills.
Oh, well, it taught me that, my dad was a school teacher. I told you my brother is. And it taught me that I made the right choice in going the school treasurer, CFO route versus the school teacher.
Yeah.
Because I do try, and and I'll be honest, God bless my wife. She did the lion's share of that, of the education. She's much better at it than I am. But no, I did get them started in the mornings, on many mornings, and I would pick it up in the evening when she had a lot of her busy work to do. I would pick it up in the evening, and yeah, it's hard. It really is. A lot of us parents are looking forward to our kids returning to school.
How are your kids doing? I mean, how did they deal with everything?
Well, I think they did well. My middle schooler loved it. Well, they all loved it. They all loved being at home, in one way, shape, or form. Let me take that back. So my middle schooler enjoyed being at home somewhat. He's a quiet kid. My youngest, he was in kindergarten. He enjoyed being home. My middle one, my second grader, really struggled with it, and still struggles with it. I don't think a lot of these kids had closure. The district did a fantastic job of connecting with students. I had teachers that would visit us from a social distance in my driveway regularly. They would stop over and bring the kids little things, bring them activities, just to connect with them. That's what kind of teachers we have in Hudson. And
awesome.
So they, my middle child struggled with it, but he's okay.
So, the last question I've been asking is maybe a message to your kids or to us, to anyone, but I phrased the question in the context of what pearls of wisdom would you, as a result of the pandemic or period of amazing social unrest in our country, would you want future generations to know? Like, what would you pass on to them in this time of the pandemic or social unrest? Either one.
Well, I know that I'm a big fan of the outdoors. I spend a lot of my free time outside. So I think a lot of us around the country have grown to appreciate our planet a little bit more during this time, because it's all we have. A lot of people in my neighborhood are out much more than they ever have been. A lot of people are visiting more parks. So I'm hoping that our future generations will learn from this and have a better appreciation for our planet and take better care of it. I would say that's the one thing. And then the other thing, that goes beyond COVID, it's kind of like I don't know if it's a bigger problem or not, but the social unrest and the political divide we have in our country. I'm hoping that I'm teaching my kids, I'm hoping that future generations will learn that, I love this community, but I also love our country, and I think that, I have a lot of pride in our nation's heritage, and I just think that that is something, love of country, pride in our heritage and love of God goes beyond politics. And so, you know, I think that I'm hoping that people will understand that they can have those things. They can love their country and have pride in their nation and love God. And it has nothing to do with how they're politically motivated. So I'm hoping that our future generations get that.
Well, it's a powerful message. As we wrap up here, just real quick, I think I have to ask you, in your capacity as our treasurer of the schools, how are the schools financially holding up?
We just closed our fiscal. Actually, believe it or not, we're going to close our fiscal year today, and we're doing well. We're doing well financially at the moment. You know, we did receive a massive state funding cut in the area of about $800 and some $1,000. You know, originally that cut was bigger, and then they pulled it back a little bit. The state did. So despite that cut, because of some of the things that, you know, that we did not have to pay for, you know, utilities, substitute teachers, those are two biggies. Some of our transportation costs we didn't have to pay for. Some of those things helped us during this period of time, helped us weather the storm, so to speak. So we ended the year a little bit higher than we did. We started the year with, which is good. So we held steady. We were stable this year financially. Going on, looking forward to next year. We're approaching next year very cautiously. We feel that there could be a lot of things that additional expenses that COVID is going to bring to our door. So we're actively planning ahead for that. We more or less, you know, the best way to put it is we feel like we have our thumb on the pulse of where the financials are going and how they're moving, as much as we can at this moment. So
got it. Well, thanks for your work for our school system. Such an incredible asset that you know, really makes our community so valuable, and our housing values and those types of things. So that's some important work you're doing in our community. We appreciate that.
It's a pleasure to serve. It is.
Well, that's a wrap.
Thank you, John, and the members. Who knew that we were going to have a love story this morning, as well as an intergenerational program? How wonderful. This is absolutely awesome. We have just a few minutes until we close. I'd like to remind all Rotarians that next Wednesday, immediately following our meeting, we will be having a board meeting and a few important topics to discuss. And then I'd like to close with just a few comments. Today in history, for Rich Warfield and Phil Butto, today was the first official day in the establishment of the Internal Revenue Service in 1862. Also, this was the first day of the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, and in 1966, this was the official starting date of Medicare. So for many of us who are over 65, that's a pretty important milestone in our history.
Hey, Marilyn.
Yes.
Dan Williams was teaching the Internal Revenue Code back then.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Appreciate that.
So my last word of caution is this COVID is not over yet. Continue to wear your mask, show responsibility to your family, your neighbors, and the rest of this community, and have a happy 4th of July. Stay out of the ER. And with that, I call this meeting to a close.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Great
Bye
day.
Thank you,
Bye,
John.
everyone.
Have a great day,
Thank you.
everyone.
So wonderful to see so many people here this morning. Thank you.
Sure is. Sure is.
Great meeting.
And looking